Happening today, construction for the pallet shelter site at the old BMX site in Chico is underway.
And that is where we find Action News Now reporter Danny Maston. So Danny, how are people feeling about this site going up in Chico?
For the most part, people I spoke with, Alan, are happy and relieved to know that the homeless will have a place to go to.
I just heard a homeless lady saying, "There's cars in every spot. Where am I supposed to sleep tonight?"
Marley Berg is talking about this parking lot right next to her apartment building. She tells me she's had to share her space with the homeless since moving here.
On one hand, I feel absolutely terrible that that's another human being that doesn't have a place to sleep. And on the other hand, I'm like, that's my valuable stuff that I pay to have a spot, at my apartment building.
When I told her about the pallet shelter site going up at the old BMX site, she was thrilled to know the homeless will have a safe place to call home.
I do think that, giving people a place to live will ultimately benefit everybody. It will benefit them and it will benefit me as a resident.
The settlement agreement between the city and the 8 homeless people who filed the lawsuit will eventually allow the city to resume its enforcement in city parks and waterways. But there are certain conditions it has to meet first.
Enforcement is based on the number of available shelter beds at the Torres shelter and the number of available pallet shelters at the new pallet shelter site.
Attorney Corey Turner, who represents the plaintiffs, tells me in terms of people who are living here at Comanche Creek, which we know is over 100 people, it is still up in the air of how they will do enforcements with a higher number of people living in city parks. The pallet shelter will have 177 shelters, and right now the Torres shelter has 145 beds and plans to add 50 more. A spokesperson for the pallet shelter tells me each pallet shelter will look like this, a private cabin with a locking door. And inside of the pallet shelters will be beds, storage space, and air conditioning and heating. Live in Chico, Danny Maston, Action News Now coverage you can count on.
Thank you, Danny. And each pallet shelter is about 64 square feet. They are prefabricated in Seattle, and they'll be delivered to Chico. Each truck can hold about 30 shelters, which each take about an hour to build.